Okay, Susan,
Okay.
we're all done. Mind if I just pop this down real quick? And
Yeah,
take
it's
a look
fine.
at it? Thank you. Okay. Let's see if my computer will join us. I'm just real briefly going to walk you through the basics of what we're looking at. This video, I'm not going to play you the whole thing, but essentially what we're talking about with causes of wall failure and foundation failure, ultimately what we're looking at with settlement, it really all comes down to the soil. It's not that the house was built poorly, it's just that the soil is so volatile in these upper levels of it. It's much less dense than it is when you go further down.
Sure.
So this is more susceptible to washout. It's also susceptible to just overall soil saturation. You step in a mud puddle and it squishes out to the side. A house obviously weighs a lot more, so when the soil gets and stays wet, it's going to be more prone to sinking down slightly into that soil. In addition to that, you do have a bunch of red clay in this property. Clay is super volatile and it's all over Virginia, but when it gets wet, it expands, and when it dries up, it shrinks up. That movement can leave little pockets underneath your foundation like this, which in turn leaves more space for water to get in, and those two things kind of feed off each other. You have washout, especially in a slope like this. That tends to be what we see happen. So when this foundation starts to sink down to the soil, that's when we start to see cracks like this translate up to the walls, and it actually starts down to the footing. So if we go down and expose that, we can pretty much guarantee we're going to see a break similar to this here. So
So this wall or all the way around?
well, what we see, let me pull my diagram out here for you. What we saw with our measurements, so this is the front of the house. You've got that really defined crack that you pointed out right here. This is where that starts. And that translates up, that crack kind of zigzags up the wall. And it actually is ending up further up here by the time you get outside. But the problem really is stemming further toward the back because it zigzags down. So the break is going to be somewhere around 11 feet back from that back corner. That crack, if you follow it, it kind of snakes all the way along the floor and it ends up about 5 or 6 feet from this corner on this side. So what we're seeing is the entire back half here has actually begun to break a little bit away and has settled slightly. So this is where we see the movement. It's really the entire thing, including this chimney on the back. Chimneys add a lot of weight, so typically if there's going to be movement with the foundation, it's going to come with it.
Okay.
So what we want to do is actually address the root cause of that failure, and we want to take the soil out of the equation altogether. And I'm going to show you in just a second how we do that, but I do want to show you the difference in that versus the hydrostatic pressure. Because what we see happen is, around homes you have backfill soil. So when they build the house, they dig out a big hole, they put down your foundation, and they put backfill soil against it, they tamp it down.
Right.
The problem is, no matter how well you tamp it down, for decades and decades, that soil is going to continue to compress and settle, never going to be as dense as the stuff they didn't disturb. So we get what we call it the clay bowl effect. You have loose soil against the foundation. This is going to soak up water like a sponge during rain. So this creates a lot more weight. If you have thousands of extra gallons of water against your walls, you've got thousands of pounds additional force against the wall. That hydrostatic pressure, which is that water pushing on the wall, is a pretty powerful force. And that's what we saw happen in this corner over on this side that we addressed through those straps. It had noticeably moved when I was here last year, which is why we addressed that. It does look like we're getting the same issue that is starting on this wall, and I think you said around a 1/4 inch movement you measured. So it hasn't moved as much as the wall that we stabilized, but it has moved. I don't know if all the walls are filled with concrete. Sometimes they'll just take the one that's below ground completely and they'll fill that with concrete to give it a little extra strength. But that, like he said, both of these issues are ones that we can't ever really predict. We just know that it's something that doesn't get better by itself. It may plateau for decades, or it may continue to get worse in a year, like when you've seen this last year. A lot of that depends on the rain we get. So with this, the reason we put those straps on it like we did is because essentially what that does, I'll pull that up here. What we do is we scour the wall, and then we will prime it. We will take this carbon fiber and we'll epoxy that to the wall. We actually do 3 layers of epoxy total. At the top of the wall, you've got what are called the rim joist and the seal plate, which is the wood that goes like this. We bracket it to those pieces of wood. So by the time we're done, it's holding this entire wall with this strap, which is actually stronger than steel when it's under tension. So that keeps that wall from moving in any further. That's the product that we would want to consider for this front wall if you want to make sure that doesn't get any worse. But as far as addressing the downward movement of the foundation of the back like we're seeing, causing those floor cracks. What we want to do is take a product that we call push piers and utilize those. Essentially, what we do, we will go down to the footing everywhere that it's been compromised. We are going to put a galvanized steel bracket underneath it. Those brackets have a hole in the middle. We'll take a hydraulic press and we're going to push lengths of steel through that hole. We go as far down as we need to until we hit bedrock, because we know bedrock's not going anywhere.
Okay.
When we get to that point, we'll cut that last tube to length and it's going to be secured to this bracket. By the time we're done, find a better picture for you here. By the time we're done, essentially this is what's happening. Your home is then resting on bedrock on those piers. Doesn't matter what happens with the soil underneath it, it's not going to move any further. When we put these in, we can often restore movement with the foundation and push it back up and close cracks. We can't guarantee we're going to do that because depending on the house is settled in its new position, sometimes it just doesn't want to budge. But we at least guarantee that we'll be able to keep it from getting any worse for as long as the structure is here. That applies to those carbon straps too. We have a warranty that stays with the house. Even if you decide to sell it, we honor the warranty for the address, not the owner.
Okay.
So if you ever had further movement in that wall, if we treat it, or in the foundation when we treat it, we would come back and fix it for free, parts and labor. Now with this application, we would really just suggest doing the entire back here where it's broken. We warranty anywhere we put this in place. If somehow down the road you do manage to have some settlement elsewhere.
And you're talking about the very back wall.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is essentially what we're looking at. This would be right here. So from here to here, or there to there.
When there's a big drop off like this, it's not uncommon that that's the area that this type of thing happens.
Right.
If it's gonna, settlement is not typically gonna happen on the front wall. It's gonna be the back where that slope goes way down because the footer is closer to the top of the soil.
Okay.
And so that's why it happens there.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Any questions on any of that?
No.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, I put everything on already just so we can show you what kind of cost we have. Just so you know, we did go ahead and apply a 5% discount. But it's going to break it down two options. The first one is going to be the more pressing issue, which is going to be this back, the settlement in the back of the house. The second one includes the stabilizing that front wall as well. So let me go ahead and pull that up here. So this is if we do stabilize the foundation on the back of the house. This is if we tack on stabilizing that entire front wall as well.
Okay. And you can email me all this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and make sure I've got your address in here properly.
And I would recommend talking to your insurance company to see what they cover on something like this.
Okay.
We were just talking about this actually a couple months ago. Stuff with problems with groundwater, whether that's water getting in or foundation problems, it's been in the past really difficult to get insurance companies to cover it.
Yeah.
But I've had in the past 6 months, for whatever reason, a number of customers actually getting it covered. I've had 2 this week. So I would definitely touch base with the insurance and see if this is something they would help with or cover completely. If they need to talk to me, you're more than welcome to have them give me a call or an email.
Okay.
And I know you've got my information, but I'll leave you with a card anyway. But it's Susan Stewart 76 at Gmail?
You got it?
Perfect. I thought it's because we had emailed before.
Yep.
I'm going to get that to you today.
Okay.
If you have any questions on it, though, please just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you
You're
guys.
welcome. Any other questions while we're here?
No,
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us the time to check out your house, and I'll be getting that to you this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.